Do you have champagne taste on a beer budget or just looking for Pinterest-worthy ideas to create beautiful centerpieces? Today I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks for saving money and creating beautiful pieces that will be the envy of your friends and won't break the bank. Let me show you how I do it. I've already attached my floral foam to this plastic tray from the Dollar Tree. I'd taken it outside and gave it a coat of Rust-Oleum's gold or metallic gold. Y'all, this is not the color of this tray. My camera's playing tricks with you. You'll see the actual color in just a few moments. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start inserting my base layer of greenery. This is from Amazon. I did not like the color of it, so I went ahead and used faux snow from Walmart, took it outside, sprayed it, and let it dry, flipped it over, sprayed the other side, let that dry because it will be sticky if you don't let it dry. I'm just going to continue to put in my layer of greenery all the way around, and then we'll move on to the next step. This beautiful deer is from the Dollar Tree. I actually got this last year, but I did see some this year. It's so pretty. We're just going to add him right on top of our floral foam, and I'm just going to use some of these floral pins to keep him in place. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm sharing brand new Christmas DIYs with you and some viewer favorites sprinkled throughout, and I cannot wait to read which one is your favorite in the comments. As you can see, I filled in around the top some more with some of the pine stems, and now we're going to start to insert some of our cedar. And I love this color. It's just such a beautiful bright green, and I'm just snipping off that long stem, just giving it a little bend, and then I'm inserting it in sideways where it kind of drapes over. The rest of the greenery is so pretty. I just love this, and I'm just going to continue to fill in all the way around with the rest of this cedar. I find in the last few months that I am getting more of my greenery and florals from Amazon, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, even Walmart sometimes when they have some really great things in, because Dollar Tree, especially my local Dollar Trees, they're just not getting very much in, and what they do get in is just not very good quality, and with the price hike, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like this cedar picks that I'm putting in, I can get 40 of these from Amazon for $14. So that breaks down to about 35 cents a piece. In the larger pine pieces that I put in earlier, that breaks down to about 34 cents a stem. And to me, it just makes more sense to do that, or to go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's rather, whenever they're doing their 40, 50, 60% off, and then just stock up. But I'm curious, I would love to know what you are doing for your greenery and florals. I love how this is coming together, the different colors and textures. We're going to add in one more color. This is lamb's ear. This is actually from an old garland of mine. I love to recycle my garlands. I just clip the pieces off, and if they look a little raggedy, I spritz them with my water bottle and then just hit them with my blow dryer, and they just smooth right out. So beautiful, and it's a great way to save money. I'm going to work in the lamb's ear throughout the arrangement, filling in some of the holes, not all of them, because we still have our embellishments to add. This is going to be a very high-end, luxurious centerpiece, just a little bit over the top. Y'all know I love over the top sometimes, and this is exactly what this is going to be. Next, we're going to add some ribbon. This ribbon is from Walmart, and each of the strips are about 18 inches long. I've already dovetailed each of the strips just to give it a nice finish. Then I'm going to loop one end over and just kind of gather it and pinch it in the center, and then I'll wrap a pipe cleaner around it and just twist it to hold it in place. And we're going to make 4 of these. I'm going to attach the ribbon by twisting the two pipe cleaner ends around one of the sturdier pieces of pine, and then I'll just give it a little fluff, and then I will do the exact same process on the other side and both ends. On a recent trip to the Dollar Tree, I found this beautiful set of ornaments. It's 30 of them for $7. What a bargain. It inspired this whole project, and I thought it would make such a beautiful high-end centerpiece, and I am just so in love with them. I created my own picks by grouping 3 of the ornaments together and running a piece of floral wire through the loops at the top, and then just wrapping that wire around a stem that's left over from another project. Then I'm just going to insert each pick at the opposite corners of the centerpiece. You can see what I'm doing here on screen, and just fluffing them and moving around until they're arranged just right. If your tops pop off, just use a little bit of hot glue and reattach them. Next, we're going to add in these beautiful gold leaves. I picked these up last year from Hobby Lobby during their after Christmas sale for I think it was like 70–80% off. I decided to add one single ornament to the opposite end of the ornament clusters. I just made the picks the exact same way I did for the clusters, and I think it just balances out the project perfectly. Next, we're going to add in these gorgeous little gold pine cones. I'm just going to use those to fill in any remaining holes and just to give it a little extra sparkle. These came from Walmart, believe it or not. I found them back in their fabric section, and they were only 97 cents for each pick. As I was adding in the pine cones, I just kept feeling that something was off with the centerpiece. It just wasn't quite right. So as I often do, I just put it aside, let it set overnight, came back the next morning, and realized that the loops on my ribbon and the tails was just far too long and too overwhelming for the project. So I made the cream loops smaller and added this beautiful pink ribbon over the top of it, and it was just the perfect touch and just the right thing to do. This pink ribbon is from Walmart. I got it a couple of years ago in an after Christmas sale. And then I also saw some of the holes that I wasn't able to see after working on it for so long, and then I just added in a few more pine cones to fill in those holes. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. Just take a step back and you're able to come back and see where you can make some improvements. One last bit of elegance, we're going to add in some of these beautiful white pearl beads from Hobby Lobby. I picked those up this year for 50% off of $1.99. Cannot beat that price, and they are so beautiful and so elegant. They have very delicate stems though, so I did have to take some other white stems and match it up with these, and then use some clear tape and wrap it around there just to make it sturdy enough to be able to insert it into my floral foam. But they are so worth a little bit of extra work. They are just absolutely gorgeous. I am so very happy with how this piece turned out, y'all. It is so gorgeous, so elegant. Is it a little over the top? Maybe, just a little bit, but that's okay. I love over the top, especially at Christmas. If you don't want the deer or you can't find the deer, you can add something else in the center, or even put 3 tapered candles down the center. That would be so gorgeous. It was really not that hard to make, but if you say, Gwen, I can't do that, which yes, you can do anything you want, or you don't have time, I took all those gorgeous ornaments, popped them into this beautiful glass container I thrifted a few years ago with some fairy lights. Easy peasy, but still so beautiful. If you've got a little bit of greenery, just add it around the bottom. It would just be gorgeous and elegant as a centerpiece. But y'all, tell me down below what you think of this. I can't wait to read your comments. On a recent trip to my local Dollar Tree, I picked up these 2 plastic bowls in their catering section, and I brought them home, gave them a good wipe down with alcohol, let it dry, and gave them 2 light coats of this Rust-Oleum frosted glass spray paint. I did let them dry completely between each coat. Once they're dry, I'm going to use my little wood burning tool, and I'm going to put a hole in the bottom of one of these bowls. I'm going to get as close to the center as I can. The reason for this, we're going to be inserting lights in the bottom later on. I'm going to use my favorite Gorilla Gel glue to glue the two pieces together. You can use whatever glue you may have on hand or prefer. And I love this because it sets up pretty quickly and it's not too stinky. Although I did let these two pieces set overnight. I just didn't have time to come back to it on this particular day, but it does usually set up very quickly. But I'm just going to line the two pieces up as best I can. I want the ridges to line up as much as I can. And I got very lucky with these two pieces. They actually went together quite well when I flipped that one upside down. Yay! I'm going to press down gently, and like I said, I ended up letting these set overnight. I want this ornament to be a very high-end glam ornament. So I'm using Folk Art's antique gold and a makeup sponge that I've torn in half, and I'm just dabbing and rubbing up and down the edges and even over the ridges where the two bowls meet. Now it is a very thin paint, so I did have to go over some areas 2, maybe even 3 times to really build up that color. Just want to take a second and welcome everybody. If you're new, I'm Gwen. So happy to have you here. To my returning subscribers, as always, thank you guys so very much for always returning and supporting my channel. Y'all just mean so much to me. To create the cap and the ring for the top of the ornament, I'm using one of these mini bowls from the Dollar Tree and also a shower curtain ring from the Dollar Tree. Took it outside and gave it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum's metallic gold, and oh my gosh, y'all, I love this spray paint. It is so wonderful. Anyway, I'm just going to use more Gorilla Gel glue and attach it to the top of the bowl. Now we get to do my favorite part, add in our embellishments. And I love how this greenery drapes over each side of the ornament. It is so gorgeous. I actually snipped it off of this candle ring that's here on the table. It actually came in a package of 4 from Amazon. I got them a few years ago. This one never looked very good, so I'm just recycling it. And I didn't have anything that would drape the way that this does. I think it was the perfect choice. It's very glittery, I will tell you that. So if glitter's not your thing, you might want to skip it and use something else, but just so pretty. And I do go back later and add in a couple more sprigs to fill it out just a little more. But now we're going to add in our bow. And this bow, it's just a very simple bow. I just folded over like an awareness ribbon, cinched it in the center with a zip tie, and put a little piece of that gold around the center to cover up that zip tie. The red ribbon, it is so gorgeous. It's from Amazon. It's wired and it is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's a perfect finishing touch for this project. Oh my gosh, y'all. I cannot wait to hear what y'all think about this. For this DIY, we're using 3 of the plastic wine glasses from the Dollar Tree. We're only going to be using the top half because we're making bells. I took them outside, gave them 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum's metallic gold. Love this color. It is so gorgeous, isn't it? I want to distress the bells just a little bit, so I'm going to use burnt umber. I didn't want anything too dark or too stark, and I felt that black might be just a little too much. And I'm using this little tiny chippy brush from Walmart. I love this thing. It gives you great control when you want to distress just a little bit. And as I always say when I'm distressing, if you don't want to do this, absolutely skip this part and just go straight on to the next step. As I mentioned, I want to just very lightly distress the bells. So I'm dipping my brush into the paint, tapping most of that paint off in the plate, and then just brushing it over the bell. And then in certain areas, I'm dipping my finger into the paint and then just kind of smudging it along the edge and in certain areas on the bell. Because in my mind, when the bells clang against each other, it'll cause the paint to wear off or rub down some at least in my mind. But if you want it a more distressed look, obviously just use more paint. In order to run the twine down through the stem of the wine glasses, I'm going to use this wood burning tool and create a little small hole. And I'm just going straight down, just kind of wiggle it around a little bit to make the hole big enough for the twine. Now, y'all, this was a little bit of a learning curve for me. I've never used this wood burning tool before. So I melted the top a little bit more of the first one that I did, but it's okay. We're going to wrap twine around the stem so it's going to all be covered up. A little trick I like to use when I'm going to thread twine through a small opening, like at the top of this wine glass, I wrap scotch tape around it. It makes it so much easier. And I'm also going to use that same tip and run it through that loop that's on the top of bells that you get from the Dollar Tree. I took 3 of them and give them 2 coats of Rust-Oleum's nutmeg, such a pretty color. And I also dry brushed them with some of that burnt umber. But anyway, I'm just tying a knot a couple of times at the very top of the bell, snipping off that excess twine. And another little trick I like to use when I cut twine to keep your knot from coming undone, I add just a drop of super glue and let it harden, and it prevents the twine from unraveling. Then I'm going to go about 2 or 3 inches or so up above the small bell and tie a little knot. I'll check to make sure it's the correct length because I want the small bell to dangle on the inside of the larger one. You'll see what I'm doing right here on screen. And then once I make sure I have the right length, I'm going to add just a teeny bit of hot glue to that knot. And then I'm going to pull it all the way to the very top of the stem. I'm going to pull it pretty snugly. I don't want to cause anything to break, but pretty snugly. Hold it kind of until the glue starts to set up, and then it'll hold that piece of twine in place. I'm going to use a small amount of hot glue to attach the twine to the base of the stem, and then I'll just continue to wrap it all the way up the stem of the wine glass, just using a little bit of hot glue here or there to make sure the twine is going to stay in place, but you do want to make sure you use your hot glue very sparingly. And then once I reach the top of the stem, I'll just snip off that excess twine and use just another little bit of hot glue to secure the end of the twine. We're going to create a really simple swag to showcase these pretty bells, and I'm going to use these 2 small trees from the Dollar Tree. Now, I picked mine up last year, so they were still $1.25 then, but I do know they have them out already this year at Dollar Tree. Just going to remove the bases and then just start to fluff these trees up. I'm going to physically touch each of the branches, just spreading them straight out. I want all the branches on one side. As you can see, I'm just flattening it out. That's the best way to get the best bang for your buck with these little trees. They're pretty sparse, but we will add a little bit of other greenery just to fluff them up and make them look a little more full. Once I get all the branches straightened out and arranged like I want them, I'm going to stack one of the little trees on top of the other, and then I'll use 2 zip ties to hold them together. Next, we're going to add the bells on top of the swag, and I'm just going to play with them a little bit until I get them arranged exactly like I want. And then I'm going to make sure that they are secured to the neck of the swag. I'm just going to grab all 3 pieces of twine, wrap it around, and tie it really tightly. If I remember correctly, I tied a couple of knots, but anyway, just make sure it's really well secured, and then snip off that excess twine. And then to camouflage where we've tied those onto the swag, I'm just going to take an extra piece of greenery. This is some that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree. They have it every year at Christmas time. And then I'll just wrap that around the neck of the swag, and it'll help to camouflage that twine. We're going to make a quick and easy bow for the swag using this gorgeous ribbon. Y'all, I absolutely love it. The gold trim on it just complements the bells so well. Anyway, I think it came from Dollar Tree. It might have been Dollar General. I have had this ribbon in my stash for forever, so I don't remember exactly where it came from. And I'm just doing 3 loops on each side. I'm going to make sure my loops are even, or as even as I can make them. and then I'm going to use a zip tie and then just loop it around it and start to pull it tight. But before I completely cinch it, a little trick I like to do, I like to again check the loops and make sure they're even and make any adjustments that I need to do before I completely tighten the zip tie, and just snip off that tail. And then I'm going to hot glue the bow right in the center of the swag to help further cover up where we attach the bells. Our swag was looking really sad and sparse in some areas, so I picked this greenery up at the Dollar Tree recently. It is so pretty, and to me, well worth the $1.75. But anyway, I've cut it down, and I'm just going to pop it in here or there to add a little more fullness, especially where it's looking a little sad in some areas. And I think that was just the perfect touch. Now, if you don't have this particular greenery, no worries. Use what you have on hand. Or a little trick I like to use old garlands. I cut those down, and that is absolutely perfect for projects like this. I'm just going to pop in a few of these sweet little pine cones. I painted them white to make them look like they're snow covered. If you don't care for pine cones, you can always swap in berries or ornaments or anything like that that better suits your taste. But I thought this was just the perfect finishing touch for this sweet little piece. It's just so simple and easy to make, and I just love this. I've already hot glued a small square of floral foam to the center of this charger from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm just going to start inserting my larger pieces of greenery to create the base for our project. This greenery is from Amazon. It didn't come flocked, I did that myself. I just used some of that spray snow in a can from Walmart, took it outside, sprayed it on one side. It is kind of wet and goopy, so I let it dry, then I flipped it over and sprayed the other side. My larger pieces I'm inserting flat against the charger to create my base, but these smaller pieces I'm going to start to insert them at a bit of an angle just to start creating some dimension and movement and to give the piece a little more interest. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's definitely worth mentioning again. I love to recycle my old garlands, picks, and sometimes even wreaths. I have a daughter that gives me her old garlands to recycle, and I love it. I keep all of it. But you can cut them apart, and this cedar that I'm inserting, for instance, some of the other greenery on the garland didn't look so hot, so I just picked out this cedar, and it just give it new life in this arrangement. I love to do that. We're going to make a really easy bow with some of this red mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to fold it over about 4 times, and then I'll pinch it in the center, check that my loops are fairly even, and then I'll use floral wire to just tie it off in the center. If you're enjoying today's video, I hope you'll take a moment and leave me a comment and hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, I hope that you will go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All of those things is a completely free way to support my channel, and it would just mean so much to me. To cover up the wire in the center of the bow, I'm just going to use some of this silver cord from Hobby Lobby. Just going to wrap it around a few times. I'll use a little bit of hot glue to secure it and then just snip off that end. I'm using the metal wires to attach it to the centerpiece. I'm just pushing it into the floral foam, but I do go back later and use just a touch of hot glue to make sure it's going to stay in place. Next, we're going to start to add in some of these gorgeous ornaments, and these are from my collection. Most of them has seen a little better days. I'm just positioning them just so you can't see the discoloration. Great way to reuse ornaments like this beautiful red and white. I love it. But I've had it for about 10 years. It actually came from Big Lots, and I'm going to have to start letting most of them go because they are starting to become discolored on one or two of the sides. But again, this is a great project to reuse your ornaments and just, at least get one more go out of them. I'm hot gluing them in because they kept rolling out of the arrangement. If you don't want to hot glue, you can always wire them in. These sweet little white pine cones, they are so sparkly. They're from Hobby Lobby. I bought them a couple of months ago for another project. I had a few of them left over and I thought they were just the perfect addition to this centerpiece. I'm going to add in some of this red sparkly, is it eucalyptus or boxwood? I heard someone call this boxwood the other day. I may be calling it the wrong thing. Y'all tell me down below. But anyway, I had a few little pieces from a pick that I cut apart, so I'm just going to sprinkle them throughout the arrangement to give it a little extra pop of color. And because we do not have enough sparkle in this arrangement, I'm going to add in some of these sparkly white leaves. This is from a project that I had created earlier in this season, and you'll see that in just a moment. It is an unusual wreath I made, and it is a perfect complement to this centerpiece, and I can't wait for y'all to see it and tell me what you think about it. Y'all, I am in love with this. It makes me want to go back to the red, white, and silver decorations that I've used for so many years. I absolutely love these colors. It just screams Christmas to me. Y'all tell me what you think. For the first part of our DIY, we're going to be creating a crescent moon, and to get the shape of the moon, I'm going to use the small hula hoop from the Dollar Tree. I'm just getting my placement just right on the foam board, and then to hold the hula hoop in place, I'll just use a little small piece of tape on each side. I'm going to make the moon a little wider than usual because we're going to add decorations to the center of it, and I want enough room for the decorations. So I'm going to pull the hula hoop out quite far, tape it down again, and then I'll just trace around the outside of the hula hoop once more. And I'm just going to use a very sharp utility knife and cut out the moon. I just took my time, just slowly worked my way around. You do want to be careful so the blade doesn't slip and cut your hand. This is going to be the base for our wreath that we're going to be making, so I want it to be really sturdy. So I'm going to use this as my template and cut out one more crescent moon. And then I'm going to glue the two pieces together. And I'm going to use Titebond's Quick and Thick. You can use whatever glue that you prefer, but I'm going to use this. It holds really well. I'm just going to put a good amount, as you can see, on one side. I'm going to use my popsicle stick to really just smooth it out. Then I'm going to stack the two pieces together, and then I'm going to go around the edges and just really press them together and smooth my hands across the top, making sure both of those pieces are really going to stick together. Then I'm just going to set it aside for a couple of hours and give the glue time to dry before we wrap it with yarn. This yarn came from Hobby Lobby, and y'all, it is so soft and plushy. I just love this stuff. I couldn't stop touching it. But anyway, I'm going to use hot glue to attach it to the tip of the moon, and I'm going to hot glue it on both sides at the tip, and then I will add a little more hot glue as I wrap it around right there at the very tip of the moon. I'm making sure it's really secure so I don't pull it loose as I'm wrapping it down the length of the moon. As I go, I want to use as little hot glue as possible. Now, if you want to use more, obviously, that's your choice. I just wanted to use as little hot glue as possible. When I got about 3/4 of the length of the moon, the yarn started slipping, and even with adding a little bit of hot glue in certain places, it just kept gapping along that back edge there. It just didn't look pretty. So I unwrapped it a bit and then just cut off the yarn, hot glued it in place, and then just went to the other end and just repeated that same process until I got almost everything covered. As you can see, there's a little gap at the back, and I just had to push the two pieces that's meeting already, just push it apart, pull the yarn through. You can see what I'm doing here on screen, and just kept wrapping until that back side was covered, then just snipped off the extra yarn and just hot glued it into place. The greenery I'm going to be using came from Amazon. As I always tell you, use whatever greenery you might have on hand, but I repurchase this every year from Amazon and I absolutely love it. This is greenery that I had left over from last year, just using this up, and both of them are called pine, but I think of the leafy green that's laying on the table more as a cedar type greenery. I don't know, but they're both listed as pine. But anyway, I will have them in my Amazon store in the description box if you're interested. With the prices of Dollar Tree going up, sometimes this can be a better deal, but I'll leave that for you to decide. But anyway, when I started this, I wasn't exactly sure what direction I was going to go in, but I ended up making sort of a snowflake pattern with this thicker greenery, and I think it was so pretty. And then once I was looking at it, I decided to go ahead and add in the more leafy green up under it, and I just tucked it up under it with some hot glue, and I think it was just such a pretty base for our embellishments. I found this pretty pick at Hobby Lobby recently, and it was 50% off of $1.99, so that was so inexpensive. And I got 3 of them, but for this project, I'm only going to use one, and I'm just going to hot glue it right to the center of our greenery. Next, we're going to add in some of these pretty red and white ornaments, and these are just from my collection that I decorate with every year. Just going to pop those in with a little bit of hot glue, and I also picked up this branch when I was at Hobby Lobby. It was $2.99 and 50% off, and now it is so beautiful. Camera is not doing it justice. It's so icy, just gorgeous. And I'm just going to tuck that in around the greenery just to add a little more sparkle. I'm just going to tuck in a few of these little silver ornaments here or there for a little more sparkle and shine. It's Christmas. You can never have too much sparkle and shine, at least in my opinion. And I'm also going to pop in some of the silver leaves. I found these at the end of the season last year at the Dollar Tree. They're a little floppy, so I'm just going to hot glue them in and just kind of hold them in place until they have time to set up. Then we're going to add in some of these pretty shiny red berries. I got these at Hobby Lobby as well. I want to say they were $1.99 with half off, and I think they are so pretty. I'm just going to pop them in all the way around the arrangement just to add a little more sparkle and color. I thought the ornaments needed just a little something else, so I added one more of the red and white ornaments, and I thought that was the perfect finishing touch. When I was filming the final reveal, I noticed that it needed a little more greenery, so I tucked in some more pieces here or there, and I think it was just what it needed to take it to that next level and make it look so much more full. I cannot tell y'all how much I love this. I want to say I'm over the moon for it, but I don't want to sound too cheesy. But oh my goodness, y'all, what can you do with foam board and a little bit of yarn and some of your ornaments? Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. But what I'd like to know, would you use a piece like this in place of your traditional wreath? We're going to use 2 plastic bowls from the Dollar Tree to create a beautiful pedestal bowl. First, I'm going to take them outside and give them 2 coats of this Krylon paint in the color clamshell. Once the paint has dried, I'm going to use E6000 to attach the 2 pieces. Of course, as I always tell you, you can use whatever glue you prefer. I just have this huge tube of E6000. It's not my favorite, but I am trying to use it up where I can, and I thought this would be a great project to use it. I'm just going to center it up as best I can, just press it down, and then I just set it aside for a full 24 hours and let it completely dry. Now this is where we're going to take this little simple project to the next level and make it look so high-end. I'm applying a metallic gold paint, and this is from Amazon, and my intention was to only apply it to the smaller bowl or the pedestal. I'm a messy painter, so I did get some on the larger bowl and didn't realize it until it had dried. So I decided to just paint the larger bowl as well. And some reason the larger bowl did not accept this paint as well as the smaller one. I would hope you can see on screen how beautiful the sheen is on that smaller bowl. But anyway, I had to do it in layers on the larger bowl, and in some areas it got really streaky, so I took my baby wipe when it was still damp and wiped it away and then let it dry and reapplied. It still looks a bit distressed in some areas, but I'm okay with that. Y'all know me, I love a little bit of a distressed look, and I just think it just adds a little bit of character to the piece. To bring everything together, I just dipped the tip of my finger in the gold paint and just lightly ran it around the edge of the bowl. I'm going to create a small, quick centerpiece with this pedestal. I'm just popping in 2 of these round white discs you can get at the Dollar Tree. I glued them together. They were used for another project. And this is a candle ring that I bought from Amazon. They come in a packet of 4. And I'd already cut the back because it was too small to go around one of the candlesticks I used it with last year. Taking one of these little candles from the Dollar Tree, it's battery operated, one of the trees. I'm just snipping off that bottom, and I'm just going to push it down into the styrofoam. Don't have to use any hot glue. You can reuse this bowl any time of the year. I didn't paint the inside of it, so you could even add fruit into it if you wanted to or something like that. Next, we're going to add in this sweet little deer. This is just one of those clear plastic deer that you get at Dollar Tree during the holidays. Picked these up last year. I picked up, I think, 5 or 6 of them. And I spray painted it with that gold spray paint that I am loving in this video. And I think he's just the perfect little addition to this project. I absolutely love this. I think it's so beautiful and so high-end looking. But maybe this is not something you want to do. You don't want to put this much effort into it. That's fine. I just took all of this out and left the candle ring in there and just popped in 3 of these beautiful candles. Mine came from QVC, but you can get them now anywhere. The Dollar Tree, Amazon, Walmart. I love my luminaires. I've had these for years and years, and they are the best quality. But I would love to know what you think about it. Which one is your favorite? Let me know. We're going to use this lamb's ear garland, and this is from Hobby Lobby. I've had it on hand for quite a while, and I have this little section left, and I'm going to use it to make a couple of candle rings. Just using this candle to make sure I get the size that I want, and once I've clipped it apart, I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue for a temporary hold, just to keep it in place while I wrap it with some floral wire for a more permanent hold. As I've mentioned before, I like to use garlands to craft with. I recycle my older ones. My daughter gives me her older ones, or sometimes I can thrift them. The last time I was at Hobby Lobby, I actually picked up one more of these lamb's ear garland. I love to use them year round in my different projects, and they had them for 40% off. And I just went ahead and picked up another one. I think it was like $10, maybe just a little bit more, but not much more than that. So you can cut it down, and again, like I said, use it in multiple projects. Off camera, I created one more candle ring, but I'll show you that in another video because it's going to be more of a winter piece. Another little trick I like to use whenever I'm making candle rings, if it's a little bit sparse in some areas, I just take some bits and pieces of greenery. I'm always talking about my bits and pieces of greenery, and I just use a little bit of hot glue, hold it in place, give it time to set up, and it just fills these in so nicely and just gives your candle ring a nice, pretty, full look. Someone mentioned seeing my Gizmo running around in the background, so I wanted to share her with you. She's such a fluff ball. She has been such a joy to us. She showed up on our doorstep when she literally fit in the palm of my hand, a hungry, furry little fluff ball, and she has just brought so much joy in the year and a half that she has been with us. Next, we're going to pop in some of these beautiful soft gold ornaments, and these are actually from the Dollar Tree. I think this color is just so high-end and elegant. I just love it. But of course, you can use whatever color ornament that you have on hand or whatever complements your personal decor. For just a little bit of sparkle, we're going to add in these glitter foam balls from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to pop them right next to each of the golden ornaments, and I think that's just the perfect finishing touch for this candle ring. I actually made this candle ring last year at the end of the season and just didn't get a chance to share it with you, and I'm so happy I'm finally able to share it with you. It's just so beautiful and elegant, and I love how I'm going to display it on this wood slice. I love that it gives it just a touch of rustic elegance. I love the red candle in it, but of course you can use any color that you prefer. Again, any color ornament, whatever suits your personal decor. As always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my video. I truly appreciate it. This will probably be my last Christmas video for this season. I'm going to move on to winter DIYs. It makes me so super sad. Seems like we just got started, doesn't it? I would love to know what you're going to be doing for the holidays. For the last week and a half of the month, in the first week of January, we will be in Mississippi visiting family. I'm so excited to go see all my children and my grandchildren. Again, I'd love to know what you're going to be doing, and I will see you soon, my friends.